Good morning, Australia.
Good afternoon, Texas, and also good afternoon, Curitiba in the south of Brazil.
Yes, our guest today is in Brazil. So, Chris, would you like to introduce our guest to everyone?
Yeah, this is Dr. Paulo, who's been an iridologist for a long time. We'll hear about all that soon. But he's also got an amazing translator all the way from Dubai. So we have got so many different time zones on today.
We do.
Like 4 different time zones. I think this is a record.
Yes, I think so. I agree with that.
Cool.
And so we are very fortunate to have these two men with us today on our little broadcast. And I think we want to get right into the questions.
Sure.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, Dr. Paulo, how long have you been an iridologist?
Então, Paulo, quanto tempo você é iridologista?
Então, uma pergunta interessante, porque faz 19 anos. 19 anos de
Interesting
prática.
question. I've been an iridologist for 19 years.
Wow, okay. 19. You must have started very young.
Deve ter começado muito cedo, muito jovem.
É interessante porque eu me sinto engatinhando, eu me sinto ainda como um bebê dentro do campo da iridologia.
Yeah, it's interesting. He feels like he's still taking baby steps in the field of iridology. He still feels like a baby in this area.
Wow.
Porque a cada vez que eu olho uma íris, eu vejo um
Every
universo
time I
diante de
see
mim.
an iris, I see a universe inside of it.
Oh, I love that.
It is beautiful.
Eu sempre comento aos alunos que sempre quando a gente observa uma íris, é como se aquela íris estivesse nos ensinando, e muitas vezes ensinando sinais novos.
Well, he always comments to his students that every time when you look at an iris, the iris is trying to communicate new signs and signals to us.
Wow.
A íris passa 70% mais verdades que a própria digital.
Yeah, the iris actually communicates 70% more truths than fingerprints.
Yes.
Amazing.
I agree
A
with
true
that.
researcher. I love it. And what inspired you to be an iridologist?
E o que te inspirou a ser iridologista?
Então, é interessante porque eu sou da área da química, eu sou da área das exatas, né? Eu fiz bacharelado em ciências.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm actually in the field of exact sciences. I'm actually a bachelor in chemistry. Yeah.
Mas
Okay.
dentro do curso de química, a gente não estuda o corpo humano, estuda as substâncias, as moléculas, os princípios ativos dos compostos.
Yeah, but inside chemistry, we studied active principles, the substances, the molecules, nothing in the human body, exactly.
Yep.
Mas sempre me interessou, por exemplo, o meu primeiro óleo essencial extraído foi o óleo de cravo, por exemplo.
Yeah, so it's interesting because his first essential oil extracted was out of the clover.
E plantas medicinais sempre foram a minha paixão, né? Entender o princípio ativo de tais plantas.
And it's always been his passion to understand the active principles of ordinary and extraordinary plants.
Yep.
Então, quando eu tive a oportunidade de fazer um curso de naturopatia, a iridologia era uma das disciplinas.
And when I had the chance to study in the field of naturopathology, iridology was actually one of the fields of study.
E era uma das disciplinas mais esperadas do curso. Mas eu nem ligava. Todo mundo ficava eufórico por aquela disciplina. Eu não sabia do que
and
se
it was one of the
tratava.
most expected disciplines in the course, and most people were very excited about it. And he at first didn't care much for it.
Yep.
Mas quando eu tive contato com aqueles sinais, aquela particularidade de cada pessoa, foi paixão à primeira vista.
But it was love at first sight when he had contact with the different signals characteristic to each person that made him fall in love.
E a partir dali, na segunda aula do curso, eu já tinha memorizado o mapa Jensen, por exemplo.
So in the second lesson of the course, he'd already memorized Jensen map.
Yeah. Wow. And where was the course?
E onde foi o curso?
Esse curso foi mesmo aqui no Brasil, mas eu tive contato com professores que no Brasil tiveram ensinamentos com o Dr. Jensen, mas eu não cheguei a conhecê-lo porque eu comecei em 2003 e ele faleceu em 2001.
Okay, so he had teachings from professors that had contact with Dr. Jensen, but this was in 2003, and Dr. Jensen had already passed away in 2001.
Yes.
Mas eu aprendi a iridologia clássica, a iridologia alemã. Depois eu fui ter contato com outras linhas da iridologia.
Yeah, so he basically learned classic iridology, the German iridology, but only later had contact with other fields of iridology around the world.
E toda a minha trajetória foi depois com a iridologia multidimensional do Dr. Daniele Lorito, com os italianos, né? Quando eu tive a minha cidadania italiana, cidadania europeia, e depois fui até o International College of Iridology com o Dr. David Pesce, que fui aprimorando cada vez mais.
Yeah, so he's had contact with mostly Italian iridology since then, with the famous doctors of in Italy. Sorry, I don't recall the names you said. But studying in those fields since he attained his Italian citizenship.
Great.
Um fato muito curioso, Christos e Kate, que quando eu estava estudando, certa vez eu estava no mercado e a atendente do mercado, ela tinha os olhos azuis.
Okay,
então,
so let me pause you. So I was when I was a student, I went to the market. And the attendant serving him had blue eyes. Continue, por favor.
Como os olhos da Kate, né? Blue
like
eyes.
Katie's eyes, blue eyes like Katie.
E essa atendente, ela tinha um sinal, uma marca escura, como se fosse um pouco antes das 6 horas no olho direito.
Okay, she had a dark blemish around 6 o'clock on the right eye.
Como que um pigmento ou um raio escuro. Mas aquilo me chamou a atenção.
Pigment or a dark ray, but what attracted my attention?
E eu estava estudando ainda, e eu fiquei intrigado com aquilo, porque todo estudante de iridologia, ele quer realmente saber se aquilo é verdade, se aquilo funciona.
Yeah, so he was very intrigued by this, and as like all students of iridology, he wanted to know if this was really the truth.
E eu sabia que era uma predisposição renal, ou ela poderia ter, ou tinha na sua história transgeracional, alguma questão renal.
Yeah, so he was for sure thinking that was some sort of renal predisposition in the family genetics, for example.
E eu acabei passando as compras do mercado e ficava olhando nos olhos dela e pensando, será que eu vou falar alguma coisa? Como é que eu vou explicar isso depois que eu estou vendo o rim nos olhos?
Yeah, so basically he kept passing, his shopping in scanning his shopping and thinking of how he was going to communicate this finding to her and how would he explain this in any way possible at all.
Essas são experiências que o estudante vai passando e eu acabei comentando com ela e ela falou que realmente ela nunca teve nada renal, mas o filho dela naquela semana estava tendo crises renais. E ela ficou de queixo caído com aquela pergunta, né?
She was really overwhelmed. She said she herself didn't have any kidney issues, but her son was actually having them that week. So she was shocked to find out how you knew that.
Interesting.
Amazing. Yeah.
So, Dr. Paulo, what is your favorite sign to see in the eyes?
Dr. Paulo, qual é o seu sinal favorito para ver nos olhos?
Isso é uma pergunta profunda. Eu diria que todos os sinais são apaixonantes, mas eu sou apaixonado por aquele sinal que me mostra a possível causa do distúrbio ou da patologia que a pessoa está passando.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in love with all signs, but especially that sign that really clearly indicates a current illness that the patient is going through at the moment.
Como uma lacuna medusa que poderia mostrar tendências depressivas ou históricos de tuberculose ou problemas respiratórios.
Or maybe like a Medusa column that could show respiratory problems or signs of depression, for example.
Yes.
Ou como pigmento retângulo que indica alterações de baço, que poderia explicar para mim Por que que ela está alternando diarreia com constipação ou tendo episódios de insônia?
Or something like a rectangular marking where it could be anything from a diarrhea, constipation, or signs of insomnia.
Ou como um pigmento adrenal, ou uma lacuna adrenal, que eu verifico muito a tendência à enxaqueca, a tendência a alergias, a algum distúrbio relacionado a um problema não resolvido que está há muito tempo na história dela.
Or anything like a pigment that indicates an adrenal problem or something like a strong headache that is indicating this particular problem.
Mas, se for para escolher um sinal, Cristos, eu escolheria a introflexão do collarette.
He would, if he really had to choose a sign, it would be the interflexion of the collarette.
Yay.
Porque para muitas pessoas, a causa do que ela está passando, como uma fibromialgia ou uma artrite reumatoide, a causa muitas vezes está na linha do tempo.
Yeah, so the cause for something like Paulo, você pode repetir a doença final aí?
Fibromialgia.
So fibromyalgia, right? Is often recorded in the timeline.
Artrite reumatoide.
Or rheumatoid arthritis.
Yep.
Something that can be recorded in the timeline.
Porque quando eu encontro uma introflexão, eu fico muito feliz, porque eu consigo saber na linha do tempo onde que eu vou atuar na coluna vertebral, desbloqueando aquele trauma.
When he finds an interflexion, he's very happy because he can find out where on the spine he can treat a specific problem.
Por exemplo, se uma pessoa tem uma introflexão, vamos colocar assim, relacionado à linha do tempo aos 48 anos.
So if they have an interflexion related to the timeline at 48 years old,
e ela está com 56 anos,
and they are currently 56 years old, for example,
e ela vem me procurar no consultório querendo encontrar, através da iridologia, uma outra visão para a patologia que ela está passando.
And you know, they seek Dr. Paulo's help through iridology in his consultation room to find another explanation for the pathology they're going through.
Awesome.
E aos 48 anos está ligado à cervical número 7.
And at 48 years is connected to the cervical number 7.
E a cervical número 7 está conectada à tireoide, as funções da tireoide.
Yeah, and that's the number 7 is connected to the functions of the thyroid.
Então, se ela me procura por um hipotireoidismo, ou porque ela não está conseguindo emagrecer, porque está com metabolismo lento.
So if they look for him for slow metabolism, not being able to lose weight due to a hypothyroid problem.
E ela me conta que aos 48 anos teve um trauma muito relevante que até hoje ela ainda não assimilou.
And they tell him that since they were 48, they had a trauma that they had not been able to assimilate any particular cause to.
Ao fazer o procedimento chamado terapia portale del tempo,
so when the procedure for the time portal is carried out on the location of number 7, for example,
desbloqueia essa região. Então aquela introflexão me mostrou como um sinal maravilhoso a causa possível de tudo que ela pode me reclamar relacionado aos 48 anos.
So basically unblocks that area, and the interflexion really was responsible for telling the doctor what was the cause of that problem at 48 years old.
Então, se fosse escolher um sinal, eu escolheria a introflexão do collarette.
Yeah, so the interflexion of the collarette really is the signal of choice for him.
Eu fico muito entusiasmado quando eu vejo uma introflexão e aquela introflexão responde a causa da patologia na linha do tempo.
Yeah, so he's very excited, enthusiastic about seeing the interflexion, obviously pointing out the cause and the timeline.
Yeah,
very good.
Quite a few of our attendees have loved the collarette, but not the interflexion of the collarette specifically. So that's great. But I think it's time to play our game, Kathy.
Okay. Dr. Paulo, would you please pick a number between 1 and 36?
Escolhe um número entre 1 e 36.
19.
Okay, this question is from a student. When I see a lacuna in the heart area of my client's eye, I am often nervous about asking questions about the heart. How can I ask questions about the heart that won't upset or make my client nervous?
Você entendeu, doutor Paulo?
Peguei em partes, Anthony.
Tá, então, o aluno pergunta, quando eu vejo um sinal no olho que releva ao coração, fico com vergonha de perguntar exatamente como pode ter acontecido. Sorry, can you just repeat the question? So
Yes, yes.
I didn't catch the end. I tried to memorize everything.
Oh,
So
okay. When I see a lacuna in the heart area of my client's iris, I'm often nervous about asking questions about the heart. How can I ask questions about the heart that won't upset them or make them nervous?
Ok. Então, é sobre quando eu vejo uma lacuna no sinal do coração no olho, eu fico nervoso quanto a como elaborar perguntas para esse paciente. Como seriam as perguntas adequadas nesse caso?
Ok. Inicialmente, na visão multidimensional da íris, nós podemos fazer inúmeras perguntas.
In the multidimensional view of the iris, we can make numerous questions.
Primeiramente, se há na história familiar alguma questão cardíaca.
If there is any sort of heart problems in the family history, for example.
No outro nível de pergunta, nós poderíamos fazer: você percebeu os seus pais com demonstrações de afeto e carinho na infância?
So another type of question would be, did you notice signs of affection and love from your parents in your childhood?
Mm-hmm.
No outro nível de pergunta, nós poderíamos fazer: você sente uma falta de fogo de realização, fogo do coração, para realizar os seus objetivos, seus projetos?
Another kind of question would be, do you feel a lack of fire in your heart to carry out your project? So the strong determination that is required.
A íris sempre nos revela pistas. Ela nos ajuda a fazer as perguntas certas, na verdade.
The iris always reveals the clues and it helps us make the right questions.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's very good. I'm sorry?
How about you, Kathy? How would you answer that?
Well, I would ask the questions about family history.
Yeah.
Any family history with heart issues. But I love what Dr. Paulo said about the love and the fire in the heart. That's a very good question. Yes.
Yeah. And I always like to start with people with eyes like yours are usually related to someone who may have had some issues with the heart, for instance. And I always remember Tony Miller once said to me that the heart, because I've got a heart lacuna right at 3 o'clock on my in my left iris, a really lovely small closed lacuna, and she says often that is unexpressed love from that heart parent. So and you know what, when I was growing up, I think my parents were too busy to say I love you. Like they were just working really hard, you know, like that. But they do it now, but I don't actually remember it so much then. And you know, she said, well, that can come. That lacuna can often mean the unexpressed love. So now I'll probably overdo it with my own kids.
Sim. Nós jamais devemos falar para a pessoa, né? Às vezes o aluno estudando as lacunas, ele acha que vai ter que falar para a pessoa que eu estou vendo um buraco no seu coração. Jamais.
You know, I will never tell the person, I can see a hole in your heart. It would never, as a student, say that to any patient.
No. Never.
Yeah. That's great. So, and as we can see, like I don't have any heart issues, but I do have a granddad who died at 64 of a heart attack. And I know to protect my heart. I know to protect by exercise, by doing things I love. That's the primary thing. The primary thing, I think, I mean, we can exercise, we can eat really well, but it's really important to surround ourselves with love.
It's important to love our lacuna.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Dr. Paulo, you've shown us so much. It was really lovely to get to know you, and your passion for iridology just exudes through Zoom and everything. It's been really, really lovely to meet you.
Yes, we've so enjoyed meeting you.
Yeah.
Anthony?
Foi prazer enorme me conhecer. Nós curtimos muito a sua presença e seu conhecimento aqui hoje.
Tá ótimo, eu que agradeço a oportunidade. E acredito que foi o primeiro do Brasil a participar aqui desse evento incrível. Achei muito incrível a ideia de vocês. Parabéns.
I really thank you for the opportunity, and I believe I was the first one in Brazil to take part, and I love the idea that you had, and I really appreciate the time you've given for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Obrigado.
much. Okay. Finish?
I think so. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Anthony, pergunta para eles que eu gostaria de fazer algumas perguntas, se fosse possível.
He would like to make a couple of questions if it's possible.
Sure. Should we do it? Should we end the recording here first, or do you want to do it as part of the recording?
Parar de gravar primeiro, depois responder as perguntas, tudo bem?
Ótimo.
Yeah.
Okay.